I received some flack for all the names I mispronounced in my last review, so I thought I would do the logical thing and pick a film with even more names for me to screw up. Can a guy get at least 70% of the names correct in this review? I guess we're going to find out. I'm Bob, you're you, and welcome to Classically Bad Cinema.
Toho S.O.S is a 2003 Japanese kaiju film that was produced and distributed by Toho Studios. And for those of you scoring at home, or if you're alone, this marked the 28th film in the Godzilla franchise, the 5th film in the franchise's Millennium series, and the 27th Godzilla film produced by Toho. The film also did something that no other Millennium-era Godzilla film had done up to this point. 5 films in, and they finally decided to have a try at continuity. Toho S.O.S is a sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, or at least in theory, and supposedly was supposed to be the second part of a trilogy that never got completed. And also is in a way a sequel to the 1961 Mothra film.
Now, something to keep in mind is that the version of Mechagodzilla used in the previous 2 films shouldn't be confused with this version, or this version.
The action starts immediately with Japanese and U.S. forces picking up what turns out to be Mothra on their radar, which surprises and freaks everyone out. You know, you would think of all the devastation that Mothra bestowed upon Japan in 1961, that Japan's self-defense force would actually keep an eye on the island and not get caught off guard like this, especially since the original attack was caused by some creeped-out jackass kidnapping the Mothra twins. We are introduced to Yoshi Chujo and his nephew as Yoshi goes on and on about a jet of a model he's building, as we get a quick glimpse of his obsession with machines. We are also treated to a familiar face, or at least to anyone who's a fan of the classic Mothra film, as Hiroshi Koizumi reprises the role of Shinichi Chujo. The three are visited by the Mothra twins, who warn that using the bones of the original Godzilla for Mechagodzilla is wrong, and that's what brought Godzilla back. And if they aren't returned to the sea, then Mothra would declare war on humanity. Well, that seems a bit harsh. But then again, this is Japan, so the odds of a giant monster attacking is pretty high. Yoshi and his Christine-like love affair for Mecha G isn't down with this in the slightest. And like everyone has a real concern that Mecha G is Japan's only defense against Godzilla. Because hey, it worked so brilliant the first time around. Just ask the families of all the people that were killed a year ago when it went all Skynet on Japan's ass. Anyways, if the bones are returned to the sea, then Mothra will protect Japan from Godzilla. This is really something you could chalk up to
and things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
But seriously, where was any of this before they started constructing Mecha G? Or when they retrieved the bones from the ocean in the first place?
Hell, where was this 8 movies ago when you created Mecha King Ghidorah using his dead body and a robotic head?
Where were you on that one, dipshit?
They hear Mothra and run outside, and for whatever reason, it takes them a moment to notice a giant-ass moth that's sitting in their backyard. They return to the living room to discover that the twins are gone, but they left behind a small stone with a symbol on it.
I wonder if that's going to be useful later.
Yoshi's part of Mecha G's ground crew that's trying to repair the damage it sustained a year ago while it was fighting Godzilla, and then going all Skynet, and attacking the very people who, ironically, created it for the sole purpose of protecting them from large monsters. Besides sustaining damage to 37% of its components, Mecha G also lost its absolute zero weapon system, which is a cannon that turns its targets into ice and causes damage on a molecular level. At Grandpa Uncle's house, he brings the audience and his grandson up to speed on the plot of the original Mothra film and the whole kidnapping of the Mothra twins that led to Mothra opening an extra-strength can of whoop-ass on Japan, decimating Tokyo, and how they used a symbol that they found on Infant Island to summon Mothra, which happens to be the same symbol that is on the stone that the twins left behind. At the excuse to write off the main characters from the previous film Going Away Party, we're introduced to Azusa, who's sort of a love interest to Yoshi, besides Mecha G, of course. We also get to meet Akiba, who's Mecha G's arrogant Top Gun pilot, who doesn't seem to care too much for Yoshi. I mean, I guess he just finds Yoshi's love for Mecha G just as unnerving as the rest of us.
Now, if you're into character development and backstory, well, you're going to be sorely disappointed because this is all you're going to get.
Yoshi sneaks away for some one-on-one alone time with Mecha G. and he runs into Akane, the pilot from the previous film, who's being sent to the States with 2 others for additional combat training. Because what better time to send your most seasoned pilots away than when there's a real fear of a Godzilla attack? Grandpa Chucho attempts to deliver the twins' warning to the Prime Minister, but is met with an odd mix of concern and denial. He even goes as far as to call his stories ridiculous. Now, you would think, after the Mothra's first attack, Earth being attacked by giant alien-made Mechagodzilla twice, a 3-headed world-destroying space monster and a space Godzilla, that the threat made by a giant moth wouldn't seem so far-fetched. I mean, the Prime Minister recalls the devastation Mothra bestowed upon Japan so many years ago, yet he won't advocate returning the bones out of fear of no defense against Godzilla. You know, the monster that is attacking Japan because you're using the bones in the first place. The military is investigating a dead giant sea turtle on the shore and judging from the large gash wounds on its neck, assume it was killed by Godzilla. Sure about that, guys? Now let's be honest. This scene was added for one purpose and one purpose only. And that was to give rival Daiei Studios that produced the Gamera series a finger. A series that some believe was only created to compete with Godzilla at the box office. Why else would you have Godzilla kill off a monster that first appeared in 1970's Space Amoeba? We already know he's an unstoppable killing machine. Meanwhile, the US has a random sub off the coast of Guam for some reason. Now let's see. Random sub in a Godzilla film? I can't see anything bad happening to these guys. Never mind. You know, subs in Godzilla movies are the equivalent of red-shirt crew members in Star Trek. Work on Mecha G continues as officials argue over its absolute zero weapon that's damaged and can't be repaired. Well, it can be repaired, but it's not in the budget. Evidently, they need a giant diamond to power the weapon. So the weapon you created to fight Godzilla isn't given the budgetary means to fix its most powerful weapon. Even with the latest Godzilla Death and Destruction, officials refuse to return the bones out of fear that they're going to be defenseless against his devastation, but yet don't want to spend the money to get a new diamond for the weapon you created to stop him.
You cheap bastard!
I'm not sure what a diamond is going to cost, but I gotta venture to guess it's probably a fraction of what it's going to cost to rebuild whatever city gets attacked. Also, what is it with the military ditching their most effective weapons against Godzilla in these films? And to make matters worse, there's a real fear that if Mecha G sustains damage, it could become unrepairable. This, of course, strikes complete and total fear in the heart of Yoshi. I'll tell you what, too bad he was in love with Christine instead, because then he wouldn't have these problems.
His obsession with Mecha G is so over the top, even Arnie would be telling him to tone it down at this point.
I mean, even his supposed love interest that never gets followed up upon notices and gives a crap. I guess it's all he talks about. It's the only thing he seems remotely interested. She even goes on to accuse him of being in love with machines and not even giving 2 thoughts about women. Yoshi gets into a scuffle with Akiba, who's pissed that Grandpa Uncle Chujo tried to get the government to scrap Mecha G. And he gets summoned to a hearing. An extremely backlit hearing for whatever reason. But instead of being berated for the scuffle with Akiba, his father, who's Director General of the Defense Agency, wants to learn more about the Mothra visit. I mean, why is it so difficult to believe Chujo's story in this universe? Mothra attacked once at least in its timeline. Why is another attack so hard to comprehend? Godzilla attacks on such a regular basis, you built a giant-ass robot to fight him.
I have to say, at this point in the film, it just feels like we're missing something, but yet I can't put my finger on it. Oh yeah, Godzilla.
30 minutes in, and we finally get more than a glimpse of Godzilla, prompting final preparations for Mecha G. His absolute zero weapon that the government won't pay for is replaced with a hyper maze weapon instead. The military sends in a bunch of non-effective weapons as Godzilla approaches the harbor. I mean, seriously, what is the point? They're not even going to slow him down. But it does look like Japan's aim has gotten slightly better, as 50% of the weapons actually hit Godzilla. But all it does is just piss him off. I mean, even my 9-year-old commented that he didn't look happy. Yoshi's nephew attempts to summon Mothra, creating a symbol on the stone with deaths from his school. Because, hey, if you're going to reveal a symbol that summons Mothra in the first act, then damn it, you better use it at the end.
Now, normally there's something to be said about annoying kids in monster films that make you really just want to punch him in the face. But with this kid, I'm giving a pass to, because he does help usher in the monster fight action.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Mothra appears and starts the attack as Mecha G remains on standby. After clawing Godzilla's face and getting a leg bitten off, she attacks utilizing gold glitter, which is not only highly flammable, but turns out to be her weapon of last resort.
Gee, I don't understand why the government didn't want to scrap Mechagodzilla.
Seriously, what the hell happened to Mothra's other attacks? I get that this is a whole different series of films, but having an attack outside of wind or face scratching would have been fantastic. Previously, she could attack with projectiles and had the ability to shoot lasers.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads. Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that that can't be done. Can you remind me what I pay you people for? Honestly, throw me a bone here.
Outside of taking out a couple city blocks, the attack has no effect on Godzilla. And even the army knows that this is a lost cause.
Let's get out of here! Yes, sir! Come on, let's go!
The Prime Minister finally gives the order to unleash Mecha G, but only after they drag their super weapon to the fight. Yoshi tries to warn Akiba that the final checks couldn't be completed, and that he needs to keep that in mind if attacking at close range. Akiba arrogantly brushes him off.
With my skill, I can overcome any maintenance problems.
Yoshi goes to his commanding officer to inquire about the whereabouts of his uncle and annoying nephew. Not having a damn clue where they are, he gives Yoshi the keys to his car. Hell yeah! And what kind of vehicle is it? I mean, it's got to be something kick-ass the way he's staring at those keys. Maybe an Acura RSX Type S, or a Nissan GTR, a Honda Civic Type R, or perhaps an NXX? Nope. A Honda Element.
You should at least have a cool burnt orange Stingray.
The epic battle between Godzilla and Mothra wages on as Tokyo Towers hit, raining debris down on Yoshi's nephew and uncle.
Well, it looks like you don't need your boss's car anymore.
Things end up looking pretty bleak for Mothra as Mecha G finally arrives to the fight.
Well, better late than never.
And immediately unleashes hell. Needless to say, the fight doesn't disappoint and has a number of memorable sequences. Mecha G does get an assist from Mothra, who gets hit and goes down yet again.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
Back on Infant Island, the twins are singing to Mothra's egg. I wonder what happened to the other inhabitants of this island.
On second thought, no I don't.
The egg finally hatches, revealing not one, but twin caterpillars who immediately head to her aid. Back in Japan, we take a break from all the exciting monster action to Yoshi driving around looking for his nephew and his uncle, using a Mothra stone that he found back at the school.
Why watch this? When you can watch this?
The stone helps lead them to their crushed remains. Well, not quite. They're hurt, but still alive. Luckily for them, when the tower collapsed, they managed to avoid all 500,000 tons of falling debris. Mecha G and Godzilla continue the brutal, dragged-out fight, with Mecha G getting in a few good hits and preparing to finish him off. Godzilla, who's seemingly down but not out, responds Cobra Kai style.
Sweep the leg. No mercy.
Sweeping the leg and nailing him right in the face and dropping him for the count. Damn. I gotta say, I bet making room in the budget for a large diamond probably seems like it might have been the wise choice right about now. Mothra's kids enter the fight shooting webbing at Godzilla and are hit with its atomic breath. Godzilla does attempt to take them all out, but Mothra shields the kids from the full brunt of his beam. Enraged, or at least it looks that way by the change of their eye color, go after Godzilla. This, of course, would be more meaningful if they could do something besides make cocoons and bite his tail. With Mecha G still down and unresponsive, Yoshi volunteers to try and make repairs. Now, what was that comment again that Akiba made?
With my skill, I can overcome any maintenance problems.
Right.
G-Force attempts to draw Godzilla away from Mecha G by attacking him. They even needlessly sacrifice a soldier using a worthless weapon on Godzilla as Yoshi arrives. This might have been an awesome time for the soul of Godzilla Bones to save its ass, take over and dole out its own ass-kicking, since you know it was a thing in the previous film. Instead, we get damaged circuits, schematics, science stuff,
Increase the Flash Gordon noise and put more science stuff around.
and everyone scrambling to try to figure out how to fix it. I'm waiting for someone to tell Yoshi to reverse the polarity or something.
I forgot to put in the crystals.
He finally makes a 2-minute repair but cannot escape the service hatch due to the damage caused by Godzilla. With Mecha G back online, we finally get back to the awesome monster fight action as these two monsters lock up, destroying the capital and causing millions more in property damage along the way. Akiba ends up converting Mecha G's hand into a drill and jams it right into Godzilla's crotch, using the Hyper Maser and the Twin Masers to shoot Godzilla, hitting him in the nuts again. Damn, that's cold. Godzilla ends up crying out in intense pain because, yeah, the pain is real. Evidently, the nut shot triggers a memory in original Godzilla's bones again, which I guess is also experienced by Yoshi, causing him to realize that Mecha G wants to rest in peace. With Godzilla encased in a cocoon, the Prime Minister hears the Mothra twins. He decides that he's going to end the project after Mecha G finishes off Godzilla. Mecha G, though, instead goes Skynet finally, proving that the government's claim that they fixed the issue, even though they never explained how, to be complete nonsense, and decide to take Godzilla out to sea to rest in peace forever. This spelled trouble for Yoshi, who's still trapped inside Mecha G. After discovering this, Azusa proves that there's never a bad time for a good argument.
Oh, here it comes.
Are you inside there, Chujo? Why didn't you tell me before?
Yoshi decides he's going to go down with the ship because of course he would. She ends up blasting open the damaged hatch, allowing him to escape. Mecha G, realizing that this is probably his best opportunity to free himself from the lovesick stalker, rotates, causing him to fall out and thus allowing Akiba to do the impossible and catch him using his ejection seat. And what has Yoshi learned as the two crash into the sea?
Mecha G!
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
In serious, dude, can you show a little bit of dignity, would you? Well, he doesn't seem to be the only one that hasn't learned a damn thing here. The Prime Minister admits that it's a hollow victory and they must correct the mistakes they made in the past and perhaps learn a little humility. All complete nonsense we see at the end credits when they have stored the 1954 Godzilla DNA that was extracted in 1999. So what did I think of this installment of the Godzilla franchise? Time to go to the hits and misses and find out. Starting with the hits. One of the biggest pluses in this film is Mechagodzilla and his killer design. It's one of the best, I believe, of the mechanized Godzillas. He proved to be a very formidable opponent and could have easily finished him off if the government would have sprung for the giant diamond or the soul of the bones from the original Godzilla didn't step in and take him to the sea. And let's be honest, why are we all watching this? Unless you're the type of guy who reads Playboy for the articles, it's for the fight scenes and the destruction. Now, this film does take a little time to get going, and we're only giving glimpses of Godzilla and Mothra early on, but once the action starts, it doesn't disappoint. The fight scenes are well done and probably some of the best in the entire series, and there are plenty of memorable sequences. Now, the misses. Tokyo S.O.S. is considered one of the lesser-ranked films in the entire franchise, and really, it's not hard to understand why. The film suffers from the mundane and kind of simplistic script that rehashes a lot of the same things used in past films. For the sequel, Toho had 4 different story ideas for director Tezuka to choose from. Of course, he hated all of them and wrote his own outline overnight. Unfortunately, this may explain why the film oftentimes feels rushed, incomplete, and the characters undeveloped. Even with Tokyo S.O.S. being a sequel, it really struggles with continuity and fails to build upon the previous film. Hell, Mothra's storyline felt more of a sequel than this film. In Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Roar awakens Mecha G's soul. Then it goes on a rampage. The film briefly mentions it at the beginning, but it never touches on it again until the end, and no one even seems remotely concerned it could happen again. Like I said, it would have been really cool if they couldn't fix the damage, and instead Mecha G awakens, and we get a fight between Godzilla and a mechanized version of the original, using all of its advanced weaponry. Also, most sequels try and attempt to return as many characters as possible. But the studio oddly instead chose to do the opposite and replace them with a new group of very bland characters that never truly get developed, and we have little to no backstory. I mean, thankfully we do get Chujo back as the original actor reprising his role from the 1961 Mothra film. Then there's Mothra as a formidable opponent. In this iteration, Mothra has no match whatsoever for Godzilla, and that makes the argument for keeping the bones the more logical choice. I mean, I get it's a totally different series of films, but Mothra really could have used the ability introduced in past films. Previously, she had the ability to shoot lasers and projectiles. Here, nothing. And it's made even worse when 6 minutes in, she's already using her weapon of last resort. So, should you save this version or return it to the sea? I say save it, because even though it's considered to be one of the lesser installments in the entire franchise, Mechagodzilla's design is cool as hell, and even though it starts off on the slow side, once the action starts, it's entertaining as hell and does not disappoint. Plus, I can think of worse ways to occupy your time.
Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe button below. If you didn't enjoy it, then tell that person that can't pronounce names to hit the like and subscribe button below. But until next time, I'm Bob, you're you. So long, everybody.